Hello now. Have you ever lost anything? Wow, I'm going to tell you a true story of when I lost my cat. It was some years ago when I lived in Birmingham, and I had this ginger cat called Moseley, and he was a great cat. In fact, he used to wake me up in the morning at 6:30. Outside the front door, meow, meow. And he was like my alarm clock. And I got so used to him waking me up, it was the same time every day. After weeks and weeks and weeks, I just used to wake up at that time anyway. And one morning, I woke up at 6:30, and there was no sound of meowing outside the front door. So I waited, and I got to 20 to 7, I went downstairs. Moseley wasn't there. So I was worried about him, so I got dressed and I went around outside, down the garden, calling him. Wasn't there. And I went out into the street, started walking down the street, and I saw a postman, and I asked if he'd seen a ginger cat. He said no. I carried on down the street. I turned left, down where there was a row of houses, terraced houses, which means they were all joined to one another, and a lady was coming out of there just going to work. I asked her if she'd seen a ginger cat, but she said no, she hadn't been out this morning. I carried on down the street. Moseley, Moseley, Moseley. I called him. Couldn't hear anything. I carried on. I stopped after a few more feet, and I called again, and I thought I could hear a meow. So I called again, and I held my breath, and it was definitely meow. And it sounded to be coming from down the road. So I walked further down the road, and at the end of the road, there was a house that had had a fire in it. It had all been boarded up, and all the bricks were black from the smoke. I called again, and there was a sound of a cat, definitely coming from inside the house that had had a fire in it. So I bent down and looked through the letterbox, and inside I could see that the room had been black with smoke on the walls. The sofas were ripped. There was glass on the floor, plaster on the floor from the walls. The chairs had been broken. And I called again. Definitely there was a cat in there, but I couldn't see a cat. I could just hear one. So I walked round to the back of the house and called again. And I heard a meow, and I looked up, and the top floor of the house, there were two little ginger ears poking out from the window ledge. And I called him again, but he couldn't get out. He was stuck or frightened. And I was lucky, because outside of the house there was an old brick shed connected to it. So I climbed on the dustbin, climbed onto the shed, and reached up. Moseley, come on, come on. And Moses' little ginger paws gradually creeped out, and his head crept out, and he jumped into my arms, and I caught him, and I held him like this, and I climbed down from the shed onto the dustbin, onto the floor, and I walked home, cuddling him. Can you guess what he was doing? Yeah, he was purring in my arms. And when I got him home, he went into the house, and can you guess what the first thing he did was? He went into the kitchen and had his breakfast.